you hit the nail on the head, because I think understanding how to manage resources for a professional athlete and actually being able to act on that, like you can understand it theoretically, what might be best for the athlete, but the communication piece is the linchpin here. Like that is the thing that's going to act as the conduit to all of the brilliant thoughts in your head and actually making those thoughts become reality when it comes to imparting this advice or training or whatever it is, that those resources, they have to be very properly communicated to that athlete. So one of the things that I was thinking about and I like framing problems. That's the key to solving a problem, I think, is framing a problem. I think way too many people work too hard on trying to find a solution to a problem rather than trying to frame it in a way where it's easily solvable. That's like, I think, where great trainers and great coaches really win, is they understand that the first step in problem solving is adequately framing that problem. Like I think of, and I don't know if you got this advice when you were a kid, but my dad used to, before I would take a test, and I'm talking everything from grade 3, I don't know, math. Did you take math in grade 3? I'm assuming you take math in grade 3, to writing my national board exams. He was, do the ones you know first. Every single time, every test, I'd like walk out of the door at like 7 o'clock at night with my hockey bag. I'd be 20 years old going to play a game. And it'd be like, answer the questions you know first. I'm like, Dad, I'm going to a hockey game. I mean, good luck. Like, holy fuck. Like, he was so adamant that whenever I approach, in this case, a question or a problem, that I approach it in the right frame. And the frame of mind is like knowing how to solve the problem. So when you go through and you answer questions you know first, you put yourself in the proper framework for the next problem to solve. Or if you're multiple choice on a subject, you could start to see some negative outliers or some deliberate wrong answers, and you start to notice trends within the test. So you actually get information from the test that could help you solve the problems that you might not be able to solve, answer the questions you might not be able to answer. And like, I always thought it was like a little bit silly. My dad's an engineer, and like, I don't know, he thinks a certain way, like engineers think. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But the older I got, and the more that I adhered to this, the more I realized, like, oh, that's part of the thing that I like about strength coaching in particular, is that it offers you the ability to frame things in a way that you know how to solve them. Right. So I think when you look at the problem of strength and conditioning, not like it's a problem when the industry is in some state of disarray, but when you look at the problems that the career offers you, you need to understand that, look, the way you frame your problem to an expedient and effective solution is by looking at not load management, but look at resource management. If you look at resource management as like resource management and communication, you're going to be in the 1% of the 1% of strength coaches. Like, I think that's where a lot of PTs go wrong, but it's also something that, especially the communication piece, because I think we should spend some time on that. That's where I think most people get the biggest takeaway out of like a strength and conditioning experience. When they come to the L3, they might be very fixated on some of the technical stuff, like learning plyometrics and sprinting and programming in season, off season. But I think that without a doubt, if we were to poll the L3 coaches that have come through, communication rises to that. I would say it's in everyone's top 2. Just saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that may be the most important takeaway from the level 3, and not to like pump us up or like sound like I'm bragging or anything, but a lot of feedback that I've gotten from people that have come through the level 3 is that they're very impressed on how prepared they are to be in the situation in terms of the technical know-how. And that's something that it's really cool to see. All these people that come in, they have the framework. They understand the things that they can be doing better, and they're doing it better than people that do this for a living. Not a word of lie. I was working with a guy who brought in his personal strength and conditioning coach from the Patriots. And I don't know, maybe I'm not going to name names, but this guy, he had an ACL surgery. Within the past year, he was recovering from it. And his strength coach that is employed by the Patriots, I have his email address. It's at Patriots, he had him squatting 3 times a week, like months out from an ACL surgery. And I think anyone who's gone through level 1, level 2 could quickly disprove that theory and why someone shouldn't be doing that. I had multiple people come up to me and ask me about it and like talk to me about it and propose better solutions than that for that person. So that's one thing that again, not to like pump up level 1, level 2, but to give credit to the people that are going through these programs, because I think that's a big part of it. It's the personality. It's the type of person that has been drawn to this experience and wants to learn in this capacity, that they're the type of person that they're going to think critically about these things and they're going to come up with the best possible solutions. And I hate to say that doesn't matter in this scenario, because it does matter, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing here is being able to understand that you just have to do something and you have to communicate the value to that very quickly, even if you're unprepared to do so. Something that I've found to be useful in these situations, and I've seen people, and this is advice I've given people in these situations when they're unprepared for the situation that they're thrown into, because it can be chaotic, is just do something. It doesn't fucking matter what you do, but do something and be confident in what you're doing, and think of the next thing as you're doing that thing. Like, grab a foam roller. Ask your guy about his weekend. What did he do? What kind of car does he have? What does he like to do with his friends? Whatever. Like, ask him a question, learn about the person, but in your mind, you're thinking about, all right, what am I seeing? What do I need to work on? And you're building the workout. You're literally just one step ahead of where you are. And you're figuring out as you're going, like, your answer might not be the same as mine. Mine might not be the same as the next guy, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. There's multiple ways to solve the problems that you're seeing with these people. But if you can connect to them and you can communicate what you're doing and the value behind it, then that's what's going to get buy-in. And buy-in is the most powerful thing when you're working with these guys, because these guys got egos. These guys, they're the fucking shit, dude. They go to their hometown and they're the guy.
Cool.
They're so fucking cool.
They're the coolest fucking people in the world.
They're working out in shoes that I can't afford. Like, these guys are fucking sick.
Dude,
like,
homeboys won bracelet? Are you joking me? I'm not gonna name names. Yeah. Like, guy is like a 5,000. Takes the cake, and I feel our boy Lambo Lenny shows up with an RM on his wrist. I'm like, dog, what are you doing? Pulls up in a 1-of-1 whip with, I don't know, my student loan on his fucking wrist, but it's like good for fucking him.
Right. Like, yeah. These guys are the dudes. Like, these guys have more diamonds in their teeth than I'll ever own. Like, make a connection with them. Like, get to be their homie, and you're going to make progress then. Like, unless you break down that personal barrier, it doesn't matter what the fuck you know, because they're not going to listen. They're going to say probably some off-color, slightly... we won't go. They're going to say some Yannick. Shit. Yeah, right. Yeah, sorry, Yannick. But... like, unless you can break through and you can make a personal connection and you can start to build that value in what you're doing for them, then they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck how well you know this stuff. You could be the smartest person in the room. If you don't have a personality that meshes with theirs, they're not going to listen to you.
I think they understand. I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they understand what effort looks like. I think that is what athletes are really good. Like, you know, like, when you start to be around any pro sports, especially pro athletes at the highest level. Like, I remember being in Halifax with like the best hockey players in the NHL last year. And, you know, we're training them. They're about to go back to their teams. And it's like very, very nerfed, like very light. It's like, you know, we have 4 days. They're going to be on the ice and in the gym. We're trying to get the best players around the best players, good competition that you could never get from going to practice with your team. And it's kind of an exclusive thing. So the workouts that we wrote were deliberately constrained to not be super heavy or intense, but the effort that was put into these workouts was like it was game 7, because it's like, you know, you name the best player that you can think of. He was there amongst every other best player you can think of. And now look, and I think athletes are so used to being around, you know, a wide range of effort that they understand when they see 100% effort. You hear stories like Michael Jackson, or I was at Buccaneers training camp with Brady's the year they won the Super Bowl. And this guy, no, do it again. getting in players' faces, telling them to fuck. Like, yeah, because they understand where they're not seeing effort. They understand where they're seeing effort. And it doesn't have to be within their domain of competence. It's funny you brought up like that, hey, do something and grab a foam roller and just like be one step ahead. When I watch really good strength coaches, and we, lucky to have a bunch within our midst come through the level 3. When I watch really good coaches in general, I think of stand-up comedians. So like I've been lucky enough to work with a handful of stand-up comedians who are, selling out stadiums around the world. And one thing that I've noticed between all my friends that are stand-up comedians is that they have a really good fake laugh. Their fake laugh is indiscernible from the real laugh, which is like kind of fucking weird because I can't ever tell when they're laughing genuinely or not. And I think the reason to it is, I think, because that's what buys them time. So they'll do crowd work and then something will happen to be like marginally funny, but they're laughing not because they think it's funny. They probably don't think it's funny at all, but the laugh buys them time to lay down the response. So it looks like the response is immediate, but the response is actually on like a 3 or 4 second delay because they're laughing about whatever the prompt in the crowd work was. So, like an interracial couple, or this guy's tall, or this guy showed up late, or whatever, and they make a crack. The crowd laughs, they laugh. They're not actually laughing. What they're doing is they're buying themselves time. And then the comeback seems quick because like, well, you can't really help it. He was just laughing because it was funny. It's like, no. Like this guy can control his emotions. He's doing that on purpose. That's what you're doing. It's like default to what you know. Like my dad said, right? Answer the questions you know first. It's the same thing, right? Like it just allows you to be in this hurts. Okay, great. Let's do this single leg instead of bilateral, or let's do the other side, or let's get into the TFL or the psoas or whatever. Like start with what you know. I think is such like and it's something that when we start to talk about contrasting and comparing strength coaching and, personal training, I think that's a really good takeaway. Because we have such a predictable environment, we sometimes aren't really challenged to have that. Like we kind of coined this thing. We were driving to the House of Athlete one day. You told me the story behind 7-minute drill, right? So the J. Cole song that was part of the whole Kendrick Drake thing. It's still my favorite song to come out of the entire beef situation. And you told me the story about how that came to be, that he had 7 minutes to make a beat and then given one word and then to make a rhyme. So it's like when you're a PT, I find over time you can lose creativity because you lose the prompt to be creative, right? Because you're going in and just running through the set list, right? Because you're going in and starts at 9, ends at 10. She's probably going to walk in 3 minutes late. She's going to have to leave 5 minutes early. You're going to hit these 4 exercises for these number of sets. Maybe you get like a small PR on something and you can hang your hat and you're off to the races. But when homeboy shows up, 40 minutes late, but it has to leave in 35 minutes and doesn't want to do lower body because he doesn't want to do it. And you have your rack already set up for lower body. And he's like, nah, man, I'm doing upper body or I'm going to split. True story.
Yep.
And 7 minutes, you wish you had 7 minutes.
Right.
You wish you had 7 minutes. It's like, no. You got to come up with something that is, like you said, engaging, that it's well received, that can relate to, you can relay the purpose of what you're doing back to the thing they care about. And you got to come with that immediately.